You can write on it. So I would say if you miss anything, make sure you're fixing it. That way you don't make the same mistake on the test. For the most part, it was the second objective that gave us the most difficulty. We did relatively well on the first one. I may have switched those. Okay, so for number 1, you could have combined like terms or moved the numbers to the other side. Either or, it didn't matter as long as you did it correctly. Got rid of the 2 by adding it to the other side. This was what tripped us up the most. If we left it like this, we graphed it to the right instead of reading it backwards. B is less than or equal to -1. So it should have been close to the left, not to the right. So just be careful with that. If this is not, the variable is not on the left, read it backwards or just flip the whole thing around. So each of these in the first section were worth 3 points. 1 for the graph drawn correctly, 1 for your work, and 1 for your inequality answer. Questions on that one? The second one, distribute. So we have -12a minus 24 is less than or equal to -84. Get rid of the 24 by adding it to the other side. And then divide both sides by -12. Remember that your sign changes direction when you divide by a negative. Some of you forgot that, so just remember that moving forward. And then some of you forgot some of your negatives, which made it a -5 instead of a positive. But remember, because this is already numbered for you, if you don't see the number there, you probably did something wrong. So always double check your work. So this would be closed circle going to the right. Questions on that one? Three, you have to distribute twice. So -16 is greater than or equal to 4n minus 24 plus 6n plus 18. Combine your like terms, so do whatever it says on the same side, not opposite. So -16 is greater than or equal to 10n minus 6. Add 6 to both sides. So we get -10 is greater than or equal to 10n. Divide by just 10. Since we didn't divide by a negative, the sign would not change. But the n isn't on the left, so you can read it backwards or just rewrite it with the whole thing. And that would also be a closed circle at -1 going to the left. Questions on that one? Okay. And then the last one, you had variables and constants on both sides, so move them. Many of you got rid of the v and then added 12. So we have 6 is greater than or equal to v. Some of you did it the opposite way, and then you ended up with a negative and then had to get rid of the negative. Either or was fine. And then again, read this backwards. V is less than or equal to 6. So closed circle at 6 going to the left. It happened by chance that 3 of these were all less than and these were all equal to. That may or may not happen on the test, so just pay attention. Do we have any questions on the first section? I may have said that your work was right, but that your answer wasn't, or vice versa. But -6 shouldn't have been, so I may have also missed that. I was grading these like very late Friday and Saturday night, like 3 a.m. on Saturday, so I could have missed things. All right, for the second one, you needed to be able to determine were they and, were they or. 3 of these were or, 1 was an and. That may or may not be the same on the test, so just pay attention. If it's condensed, that's and. So to get A by itself, we would get rid of the 6 in the middle. Some of you were dividing the -6 on the side, but then it disappeared. So some of your math were doing weird things. So get rid of the number in the middle. So we have -1 is less than or equal to A, which is less than 5. Some of you were separating this. If you were doing that for the graph, remember I said that part is not necessary, just to see where they overlap. The overlapping line segment is what I need to see. The other parts are unnecessary. So if you separated it, make sure you tell me which one is your answer, which one is not, because your answer should look like this, not this separated. If you solve them separately, which is fine, your final answer needs to be condensed still. So this would start at -1, close, end at 5, open with a line segment. So if you did the arrows, it would look like this. So I either need to see 3, because I need to see the line segment, or just do the line segment. So 1, or you can do all 3. But if you just do the arrows, you miss where they overlap. All right, questions on that one? For the most part, we did fine on the or. It was just some of our math messed up things. So remember to solve these separately. So add 3 here, subtract 3 here. So we'd have 4x is less than 0, and -2x is less than -4. Divide 4 on both sides here, and -2 on both sides here. So x is less than 0, and x is greater than 2. Make sure your final inequality answers has or in between them. Some of you were forgetting that. Both of these will be open. And because it is an or, these should graph apart. Questions on that one? Some of you are still getting tripped up by it's 0, so we can't do anything, but that's not true. Keep solving it. Get x by itself. For number 7, again, solve both of them separately. So we would add 5 and subtract 6. We have -b is less than 3. And 4b is less than or equal to -20. Some of you, when you did this one on the left, forgot the negative, which changed your entire answer. If you're graphing these or solving them and you get 2 of them going in the same direction, something's probably off. So double check your work. So divide this one by -1, this one by 4, so that b is greater than -3, and b is less than or equal to -5. So that would be a closed circle at -5 going to the left, and an open circle at -3 going to the right. Questions on that one? If there's not enough space for you to do your work, grab another sheet of paper, rewrite it. Some of you were missing some of the pieces when you tried to do the work, like didn't bring down the -5 or the -2, which threw off your work, so just be careful. Because we should be moving things to the other side. So let's say I move 2k and add 5. And then move 4K and add 2. So I'm going to redo that just in case you can see it. If you choose to do separate things, so like move the 2K and then move the 5, that's fine. You may just need more space. So here we have negative 5K is less than or equal to 0, and negative 2K is greater than or equal to 8. Both of your signs change here because you're both dividing by negatives, depending on how you move things. So this should be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to negative 4. So both close. Graphing away from each other. All of the ors were worth 4 points. The work for both sides, your final answer, and your graph. The and was worth 3, your work, your graph, your answer. Do we have any questions on compound inequalities or multi-step? For objective 3 and objective 4, those are the two sections you guys did well on the most, so good job. These graphs were each worth 3 points. Did you graph the line correctly, like the slope and y-intercept? Did you graph the type of line correctly, solid versus dashed? And then did you shade in the correct direction? So if you did that, you got all 3 points. If you messed up your slope and y-intercept, which caused your shading to be off, then you got points taken off for that. So this one was a solid line, shaded above. 10 was also a solid line, shaded above. Their aboves look different because one slope was negative. Questions on 9 or 10? And remember that you can check yourself in your graph in your calculator by using those steps. 11 should have been a dashed or dotted line shaded above. And 12 was also a dashed or dotted line shaded above. Again, that was coincidence that they were all shaded above. It could be the same, could not be. Just pay attention. Questions on either of those? And then your systems, each problem was worth 5 points. Did you graph both lines correctly, slope and y-intercept? Did you graph the type of lines correctly, solid or dashed? And then is the overlapping section that you graphed or shaded correct? So, one, if I couldn't tell where your overlapping was, I wrote, where's your overlapping? So make sure I can clearly see it. Even if you think I should be able to clearly see it, with your pencil, just double check. You can ask, you can highlight it, color it in a different color, something that shows me this is the overlapping. Okay, so one of your lines was dashed, one was solid, and this should have been the area that you shaded that was overlapping. For 14, some of you got this right, some of you didn't, but this should have been a vertical line. So because of horizonts. So a vertical line that was dashed, and then your other line was solid, and then this should have been the overlapping shaded area. Questions on either of those two? For 15, most of you got this one right, but some of you, I think your shading was just off. These were parallel lines, yes. One was dashed, one was solid, so the slope was the same, just the y-intercepts were different. One was shaded below, so from the top one, it was shaded underneath. The bottom one was shaded above, so where they overlap was just in the middle. So if you did one of the other sections, that was not right. And then 16, again, you had one that was dashed, one that was solid. This should have been the overlapping area. Questions on either of those? Do we have any other questions in general, specifically, before you guys take your tests? Christina? Yes. And if you're not sure which way is which, you could do one of two things. Either go on your calculator, do those steps, double check and see is it the same. Or without doing that, at your y-intercept, draw up and down arrow. If it's less than, it should be down. If it's greater than, it should be up. And figure out which way it's supposed to go. Other questions, specific or general? I was going to say generic. If you guys don't have any other questions, go ahead and put your phones up, grab your calculator, clear out your desk.